The book titled The Fear of Death. Notions of Death. As we all abandon the pursuit of eternal life, many great minds have developed their own notions of death. They have sought to accept and understand the grim reality of mortality, rationalizing it with their intelligence. Despite a lack of definitive proof, they believe, and continue to believe, that this strategy mitigates the fear of death. In my opinion, this is akin to self-deception, as they are well aware that no tangible solution or escape exists. A notable example of this mindset comes from the 21st century. Steve Jobs, one of the greatest entrepreneurs, inventors, and visionaries, who founded Apple Computer, once addressed the commencement at Stanford University before his untimely death at 56. He stated, "Death is a great invention of mankind." An unfounded claim. No one knows who invented death, and Jobs didn't specify who conceptualized the notion of death itself. His speech lacked any entity that could be held responsible for inventing death. Jobs glossed over the unresolved issue of death with eloquent words. If death were a grand invention, surely a great inventor must exist somewhere, don't you think? I interpret his message as, folks, young people, I do not know the meaning of death, but I will follow the path our ancestors have taken. However, at least I would like to romanticize the fact that I am going to die before all you young people. Because this is my best, and you want to hear something from me, a person who doesn't understand the meaning of death at the beginning of your life journey. After his inspirational speech at Stanford University's commencement, Steve Jobs passed away on October 5, 2011. What a tragic story for one of the greatest men in human history. We, as a species, must admit that we are powerless against death, and resolving this issue is far beyond our capacity. It is more significant than amassing billions. If Steve's words hold truth, we must find the inventor of death, don't you think? Ironically, all these theories could be correct. After all, we humans do not know the precise reason for death, do we? However, the harsh reality is that death rules over humanity at this very moment. Who dares to resist the power of death? I can understand why Steve Jobs expressed what he did. Throughout human history, spanning over 7 millennia, there has been no solution or wisdom regarding death. Looking at the pyramids, constructed 6,000 years ago and still standing in the Egyptian desert, we marvel at the ancient wisdom and technology. However, we find no insight or solution regarding death. It remains an enigma. Even though finding a solution to death should be humanity's most pressing issue, people tend to dismiss it, pretending it's not a problem at all. They make excuses like, because my ancestors died, great heroes died, and now we must accept it as it is. This indicates that we are numb to the reality of death, consoling ourselves with ambiguous doctrines. We often consider contemplating death a wasteful, energy-consuming exercise. Anyone attempting to discuss the meaning of death risks being labeled an idiot or a freak. However, I now realize that it's not only essential but also urgent and vital to understand the cause and origin of death, rather than simply knowing how to live and what to eat. If we comprehend the reason for death, we can overcome the fear of it and live a meaningful and fearless life on Earth. Therefore, I feel an urgent need to uncover the hidden cause, solution, and meaning of death. Nonetheless, the answer to the cause of death remains bewildering to us all. Once, when my son was 16 years old, I attempted to initiate a conversation about the concept of death. I could tell, however, that he was uncomfortable and seemed to avoid the conversation. Perhaps the idea of death was too overwhelming for him to confront. Instead, he turned to playing Minecraft, a video game where he could create and design his own virtual world. I couldn't help but think that he was dreaming of a future filled with possibilities, without fully recognizing that death is an inevitable part of life. I am confident that eventually, my son will comprehend the importance of discussing and accepting the reality of death. It may not be an easy topic to face, but understanding death can help us appreciate the value of life and make the most of our time on this earth. Ironically, many of us don't have time to contemplate the reality of death because we're engrossed in the matters of living. We often spend our leisure time watching sports and movies, offering a temporary escape from reality. But the truth is, the question of death is critical and pertinent to our lives, and it's something we should dedicate time to ponder over. Our fear of death may also deter us from facing its reality. Ultimately, we must find a balance between living our lives and acknowledging the inevitable end. I encourage everyone to allocate some time to reflect on the fundamental aspects of life. In this regard, I'd like to share a quote from the Bible, Matthew chapter 6 verse 25, which states, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes?" To me, this quote implies that many things we worry about daily are ultimately insignificant, as we will all die someday, be it today or tomorrow. Instead, we should prioritize deep contemplation about the meaning of life and death, rather than solely focusing on the mundane tasks of our daily lives. By doing so, we may gain a profound understanding of ourselves and the world around us. In conclusion, death is an inevitable aspect of the human experience, yet it remains a topic that many find difficult to confront. In the previous passage, we discussed how our understanding of death is intricately linked to our awareness of its cause. Without knowledge of the cause of death, we cannot fully grasp its impact on our lives. Moreover, the transience of life and the inevitability of death imply that everything we achieve during our time on this earth will eventually fade away. It's akin to building a house on sand. No matter how grand it is, it will inevitably crumble and vanish. In essence, all our accomplishments will become meaningless in the face of death. In this passage, we have pondered over the notions of death that exist in our minds. Next, I plan to delve deeper into the origin of death. Isaac G. Lee presents The Fear of Death.